it might just be time to bring out the big guns.
Subscribe.
So we recently got a points update in Genesys format, and that list had a whole bunch of changes on it, including some Red Dragon Archfiend cards. Since it dropped, I've had so many comments and messages being like, Revs, Abyss is 20 points, what do we do?
Oh no! Anyway.
This really isn't a problem. You just go from having 90 points to spend on hand traps down to 70 points. The real issue is the boulder. While it was 10 points, no one could really justify playing it, but now that it's down to 5 points, there's a whole lot of rocks being thrown around, and that's something that Red Dragon Archfiend frequently just struggles to deal with. Couple that with all the other popular hand traps in the format like Droll, DD Crow, Scumeister, I thought it was time to make a change and try the Centurion engine. Without access to Crimson Dragon, I wasn't sure if it was going to be worth it, but turns out it's actually really nice. And if you really want to, you can Calamity lock people with it. So today I'll show you the list that I've built alongside all of the combo lines into Nibiru, and I'll also show you the Calamity lock as well. Alright, so I suppose a deck list will be a pretty decent place to start, and it's not just going to be a deck list, it's going to be kind of like a discussion as well, because it really comes down to figuring out whether spending the points on the Centurion engine is worth it versus having 70 whole points for non-engine. Also, if my voice sounds a bit weird, I apologize. I think I'm getting sick, or maybe I'm like in the early stages of getting sick, but yeah, getting into the list here. For the Red Dragon Archfiend stuff, we are on 3 soul, 3 copies of Stone Sweeper. This card gets a lot more versatile when you're playing the Centurion engine because it can also be a level 5 non-tuner extender when you actually have the field spell on the field. So a higher count on the Centurion cards makes Stone Sweeper very good, but Stone Sweeper also synergizes very nicely with the spell card Monster Reborn. So yeah, a lot more versatile in the Centurion version. We're playing 3. We're also on 2 copies of Resonator Call and 2 copies of Crimson Gaia, and then 3 copies of Bone Archfiend, which is also, of course, just a starter in itself as well. 2 Vision, which is pretty much a semi-starter in the Centurion version, because if you discard this off of the field spell, you get to your Crimson Gaia that way. So it's much easier to proc in this version. And then we also have the Crimson, the Synchron, the UV Loop, and the Red Zone. These are necessary for our heavy Resonator hands to have lines through Nibiru. But yeah, this is it for the main deck Red Dragon Archfiend engine. You could play like 1 copy of Void Apocalypse for the additional non-tuner extender, although this card feels really awkward going second, especially when Radiant Typhoon's going around and then you discard a card for cost into an MST. Additionally, you might just not even need it depending on how many Centurion starters you play. So this part of the main deck costs a total of 0 points. Let's move on to the Centurion cards. We're on 3 copies of Emblem of Oath. That's pretty much mandatory. This card costs 0 points, and it's very good going second because it gives you a push with the Centurion engine, allowing you to make Legatia to threaten part of their board. So this will force out some of their interruptions going second. The field spell, however, costs 5 points. If you want to play King Calamity, which I don't recommend because all the lines are really fragile, you can only play 1, which also just makes your main deck worse. So realistically, you don't want to King Calamity lock, but I will show you the combo just because it's funny. The question then becomes, how many field spell do you want to play? Because this eats into your non-engine. Obviously, you need at least 1 because you can bridge into it with Centurion Oxala. I would probably say the second field spell is the optimal way to play the deck. That does, of course, cost an additional 5 points, but the consistency on that 5th card is so important. Alongside that, we're playing Primera and Trudea, 1 of each. These are 8 points together. And then we're not playing Gargoyle, but we are playing Phalanx, because this turns your Centurion cards into 2 interruptions rather than 1. And there are situations where you're building your board, and when you get to your Oxala, your hand is full of hand traps, and you don't want to discard a card for the field spell, so you would just add the Phalanx instead. It also gives your lines post Nibiru an additional interruption. So I think the Phalanx is definitely worth it. If you open it as a brick, then it's still just an interruption to stop your opponent, so it's not the worst. So yeah, 8 cards in the main deck for the Centurion engine, which gives us a 27 card main deck so far. I think the deck is best played at about 42 cards, so that would give us 15 slots for non-engine. We have 19 points left over rather than 70 in the pure Red Dragon Archfiend build. So we've made use of all of those points by opting to play 3 Ghost Ogre and 2 Droll and Lockbird. Alternatively, you could play something like 3 Mourner and 2 Nibiru. It kind of depends on, you know, what decks you're scared of. Droll obviously stops a lot of combo decks and, you know, can put in some work against the MST deck, which is the best deck in the format. And then Ghost Ogre can hit something like Runic Fountain, or in other matchups, you can use it against one of your opponent's monsters to trigger your Crimson Gaia, which can then bring Red Dragon Archfiend back from the graveyard to turn on your red zone and your soul protection engrave as well. Additionally, soul is a tuner that you can bring back from the graveyard with something like Abyss in awkward game states, because Ghost Ogre is able to just activate its effect from the field as well. So there's some funny synergies with Ghost Ogre in this deck. We're playing the 1 Skullmeister because it is searchable. It's a level 4 non-tuner you can pair with something like Resonator Call to get to the Crimson Resonator and combo that way. Also, if you have like a full engine hand, you can just search this with soul against something like Branded or, you know, any other deck that will have graveyard effects. We're also on 3 Crow. Because our combo uses up a lot of the back row space, we don't want to have a lot of our interruptions being, you know, like quick play spells or trap cards. So we've opted for as many hand traps as possible. Crow, of course, banishing an opponent's cards. Make sure Dispatter live, things like that. Genuinely not a terrible card. And then because our deck is basically built to power through and set up a couple of interruptions going first, regardless of how we get interrupted, for the remaining 6 slots, I've focused on going second, and we've put in 3 Dark Ruler alongside 3 Ultimate Slayer. Ultimate Slayer is just such good value in a card. Like, if you can play this, you should. And then Dark Ruler is, of course, Dark Ruler. Can pretty much just cook Archmage, which is another one of the best decks right now. So yeah, that is the 42 card list that I am currently playing. I've been playing both this and Pure with, you know, 70 points worth of non-engine online as well, and it's really hard to say which deck is the better deck. If you get drolled or nibbed in Pure, sometimes your non-engine is just not good enough to save you. Then of course in this build you have awkward hands where you open like too many normal summons because we have these 3 cards, but you're able to just power through things like droll and nib no problem. While we are on the topic of non-engine, I do want to bring up a very important card, and that is Spell Card Monster Reborn. I have cited this for going first because a lot of the time going second, it's just not good enough. But this card is really, really strong. Like, if you couple this just with your soul 1-card combo, this plays through Nibiru. It's really, really good. Also, like I said, it synergizes with the Stone Sweeper. If you Stone Sweeper search soul, normal soul somehow gets stopped, then you can reborn the Stone Sweeper and that gets you to your 8 that way. It's basically an engine card, so I think you should be playing this, whether it's in your main deck or your side deck for going first. Make sure you have these. And then for the extra deck, 2 copies of Red Rising Dragon. The combo with Crimson plus Bone does use 2 copies of Red Rising, so you need at least 2. We got the Quibelt, the Scarred, the double Red Dragon Archfiend. We of course have the Abyss, the Bane, and the Dispatter for the Red Dragon Archfiend lineup. Dispatter is 10 points, Abyss is now 20 points, and then for the Centurion lineup, we of course have the Oxala, which is the bridge. This does cost 33 points, so if this goes down in point value, this deck becomes a lot better. I've seen a lot of people questioning why this card costs 33 points as well. So there is a good chance this goes down, which would of course be great news for us. Also, this into MST is really nice because this protects your face-up back row. So if they throw an MST at your set red zone, you can just flip the red zone and then they've thrown away an MST because of course Oxala just protects the red zone at that point. We also have the 1 Legatia and the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon as our 12 synchro interruptions off of the Centurion engine. Legatia of course draws a card, pops an opponent's monster, which triggers the Crimson Gaia to summon back the Red Dragon Archfiend, making the red zone live. And then Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon is less reactive. It's also, you know, non-destructive removal. Very good card, costs no points. Finally, we have the Ultimate Slayer targets. I have a Malong, a Garura, and an Aggregator. Honestly, this could be a Valon. There's been times where my opponents will have an Xyz monster and then the rest of their cards will be face down. So Valon would get more value than Aggregator at that point. And then Garura could also be one of the fossil fusions. These are just what I had laying around, so these are our Ultimate Slayer targets. If you don't want to play Ultimate Slayer, I would recommend a Red Supernova Dragon. When your opponent makes like a Towers, Red Supernova Dragon is your way of just beating over it. For example, if you're against Super Quants and they summon Magnus, they use their effect or they don't use their effect because they want to keep the Towers, Red Supernova can just beat over it. I actually had a game where that happened and it was very funny. You could also play the Primera Primus. This is an 8 that you can go into with your Centurion package, and this can at least deal with the back row. You can also then just pop itself to trigger the Gaia again, and of course it can reborn itself from the graveyard and cannot be destroyed by battle at that point, which is a really nice effect. But it's hard to say if that utility is more valuable than, you know, having all 3 Ultimate Slayer targets. Then the final card I would play is the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. The card is just good. Sometimes you can just clean up shop with this, put in that final bit of damage, etc, etc. Also, if you are cutting all your hand traps and trying to play the King Calamity, then this could go here as well, I guess. This card costs 21 points now. You can still summon it, but dude, the lines are not worth it. So that's the list. Let's get into all of the combos. Alright, let's start with just our baseline combo here with our Soul Resonators. So normal summoning the Soul will activate the effect to add Bone from deck. We'll then activate the effect of Bone, sending a card to grave to special summon itself. Bone effect target and Soul, sending a Crimson to grave to make Soul level 2. We can then synchro these two into the Red Rising, and Red Rising will summon back the Crimson Resonator. Crimson can summon out the Vision and the Synchron from the deck. We'll then synchro the Vision with the Red Rising into a Scarred, triggering the Vision and Graveyard to grab a Crimson Gaia. We'll synchro Synchron and Scarred into the Abyss, chainlink 1 Synchron, chainlink 2 Scarred, summoning out the Red Dragon Archfiend, and Synchron adds back the Vision. We'll then synchro Red Dragon Archfiend with Crimson into a Bane, keeping Dispatcher in the extra deck for next turn. We'll then special summon the Vision and synchro with the Bane into the Centurion Oxala. Oxala effect on summon will grab us the Centurion field spell. Activating the field spell will activate the effect, sending a card from hand to grave to place the Trudea. Trudea effect to summon itself. Trudea effect to place itself and a Primera from the deck. We'll go effect of Primera to summon, and then effect of Primera to search for the Phalanx. Set the Phalanx, activate the Crimson Gaia effect to get to the red zone, set the red zone, and pass turn. So here we have our face-up spells and traps protected. Abyss, negate. We have the Phalanx to banish an opponent's monster. We can summon the Trudea to trigger the field spell to synchro with the Primera into a Legatia, popping an opponent's monster, drawing a card, triggering the Gaia to summon back, Scarred, and then red zone pop is live. But if we go back, not even an Ultimate Slayer can deal with this. If our opponent goes Ultimate Slayer, sending a Malung to the graveyard targeting Abyss, we can chain Red Zone, chain Abyss targeting the Ultimate Slayer so that we don't lose the body, and then chain Trudea as well, because on resolution they're most likely going to go Malong target the Centurion field spell. So if we chain Trudea to the Ultimate Slayer, summon her as a level 8, because our opponent is the turn player, they have to activate Malong as chainlink 1, meaning as chainlink 2 we can synchro, which means we're not actually going to lose any interruptions here because we can just summon the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon instead. Then obviously if our opponent has like a Dark Ruler, we can chain Red Zone, chain Abyss, target Dark Ruler. It's a very strong end board. Now, when it comes to Nibiru, there are so many different ways that you can play through Nibiru in this version of the deck. Literally, all of these 2-card combos can beat Nibiru. So let's go through all of these. Starting with the simplest line, we have Soul plus a Centurion starter. So we'll normal Soul effect to grab the Bone. We'll activate the Oath to set the Centurion spell to the field. We'll activate our Centurion field spell and the effect sending Bone to the graveyard to place Trudea. Trudea effect to summon, Trudea effect to place itself and the Primera, and that's only 2 summons. Now we can continue with our Red Dragon Archfiend combo, and if we do get Nibiru'd, right, we can then go Primera effect to summon and Primera effect to search for the trap cards, giving us a monster banish and then the Centurion setup as well to make either a Legatia or a Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. The line with Monster Reborn is actually really funny. So we're going to start with the normal summon Soul. Soul effect will grab the Bone. Bone will send another card in hand to grave to special summon itself. Effect target Soul, sending a Crimson, reducing Soul to level 2. We'll synchro these two into the Red Rising. Red Rising will summon back the Crimson. That is summon number 4. We'll then go Crimson effect, summoning out the Vision and the Synchron, and we get nibbed here. That would usually kill the 1-card Soul combo. We'll go Chainlink 1 Vision, Chainlink 2 Synchron, adding back the Vision to hand. We grab a Crimson Gaia here. We can then go spell card Monster Reborn, targeting the Synchron to special summon it. And then we can just synchro the Synchron with the Nibiru token into the Centurion Oxala, chain 1 Oxala, chain 2 Synchron, adding the Soul, getting us to the field spell and a free discard for the field spell as well, dude. So we just activate the field spell, discard the Soul to place Trudea. Trudea effect to summon. Trudea effect to place itself plus Primera. Primera effect to summon, grabbing us the trap card as well, and we have follow-up. Any combo that involves using the Nibiru token, I think, is just hilarious, dude. Similarly, the line with Crimson plus Bone is equally hilarious. So we start by special summoning the Crimson and then normal summon the Bone. We synchro these two into the Red Rising Dragon. Red Rising summons back the Crimson. Crimson effect is going to summon out a Soul and a Synchron, and Soul effect on summon will grab a UV Loop. Once again, we likely get Nibiru'd here, giving us our Nibiru token, and Synchron will trigger, adding back the Soul Resonator. We can then activate the effect of Bone and Grave, sending the Soul to Grave to special summon itself. We'll then activate the Bone, targeting the Nibiru token, dumping a Vision to reduce the token to level 10. Vision will trigger, adding a Crimson Gaia, and then we'll activate the effect of UV Loop in hand, targeting the Red Rising. So that's going to banish the Red Rising to special the UV Loop. We can synchro the Bone with the UV Loop into a Scarred, Then we'll activate Crimson Gaia and the effect. We're going to add back the Vision from the graveyard, and because we have a 5 or higher Dark on the field, we can special summon the Vision and synchro with the Nibiru token again into the Oxala. Oxala, of course, gets us the field spell. We activate the field spell, send the card from hand to grave to place the Trudea. Summon Trudea, place Trudea plus the Primera effect to summon, Primera to grab the trap again. It's so good, man. Alright, and then we have our Resonator hand here with Soul plus access to another Resonator, and we are going to be using the Vision. Now, typically, with a 2-card combo like this, if you go for the 1-card Soul combo, then you are going to get cooked by Nibiru, because Vision offers no further extension or plays through the Nibiru at that point. So we have to adapt our combo to eliminate the lose condition of Nibiru. To do that, we are going to normal summon Soul and Soul effect, adding a bone. We'll then special summon the bone by pitching another card from hand. Bone effect target Soul. We're going to dump a UV loop this time and increase Soul's level to 4. We can then synchro our 2 monsters into the Scarred, special summon out the Vision, and then as summon number 5, we can summon out the Dispatter. Chainlink 1 Scarred will summon out the Red Dragon Archfiend, and Chainlink 2 Vision will grab us a copy of Crimson Gaia. So at this point, if we get Nibiru'd at any time, we have access to Red Zone and a banished Red Dragon Archfiend, giving us at least an interruption through Nibiru regardless of where they use it. But let's say they're holding it until the end of the main phase, we can continue our combo here, activating UV Loop, targeting the Scarred and Grave to banish the Scarred and add itself back to hand. We'll then activate the effect of UV Loop, banishing the Red Dragon Archfiend to special summon it to the field. We'll go Dispatter effect, summoning back specifically the Red Dragon Archfiend, and then synchro these two into the Centurion Oxala. Of course, Oxala effect on summon is going to grab us the stand-up Centurion. We still want to be aware that the opponent might be holding a Nibiru for the end of the main phase, so we're going to activate stand-up Centurion and its effect, pitching a card from hand to grave to place the Primera this time. If we went for the Trudea here and our opponent did happen to be holding a Nibiru, we would then kind of get punished by summoning the Trudea and getting our boards tributed with no payoff. However, if we go for the Primera, we can summon the Primera, and the effect on summon at least grabs us the trap card, so that if we do get Nibiru'd, we have the Red Zone plus the Phalanx as well. Going for Primera instead of Trudea also doesn't take away from our Centurion plays, because with the Crimson Gaia grabbing us the Red Zone, we can then use Red Zone to summon Scarred and synchro that with the Primera instead of a Trudea, and then Scarred will summon out the second copy of Red Dragon Archfiend, which will of course keep the interruption live on the Red Zone as well. And then the Phalanx obviously turns on the negate for Dispatter. Just all round a much safer line into Nibiru with Soul plus a Resonator. Alright, finally we have the King Calamity combo that you shouldn't be going for because it's so bad, man. But, you know, you can do it if you want to just because it's funny. And it is going to be pretty much any 2-card combo in the deck that can achieve it. Here we're going Soul plus Stone Sweep. There's so many combos, man. It's so fun. I can speak about this deck for so long. But yeah, any 2-card Resonator combo, we're going to start by normal summoning Soul here and using its effect to grab the bone. We'll then activate the effect of Stone Sweeper to grab a Crimson Resonator. The key for this combo is getting access to Crimson plus UV Loop. So here we're going to activate the effect of Bone, sending our Crimson to the graveyard to special summon it. We're then going to activate the effect of Bone, target and Soul, sending a UV Loop to reduce Soul's level to 2. We'll synchro these two into the Red Rising. Red Rising is going to summon back the Crimson, and we'll then activate the effect of Crimson, summoning out a Synchron and a Vision from the deck. We'll synchro the Vision with the Red Rising into a Scarred, triggering the Vision to grab a Crimson Gaia. We'll then synchro the Synchron with the Scarred into the Abyss, Chainlink 1 Scarred, Chainlink 2 Synchron, targeting the Vision. Scarred, of course, will summon out the Red Dragon Archfiend. We're going to activate the effect of UV Loop Engrave, targeting the Red Rising, banishing Red Rising to add itself back. And then we'll activate its effect in hand, targeting the Scarred to banish the Scarred and special summon it to the field. From here, we'll then synchro the Red Dragon Archfiend with the UV Loop into our Centurion Oxala, and Oxala will grab us the field spell. We can activate the field spell and then activate the effect of the field spell, just pitching the Vision to grave because we aren't going to need it. That's going to place the Trudea. We'll then go effect of Trudea to summon, effect of Trudea to place itself and the Primera from the deck. We'll go effect of Primera to summon, and then the effect of Primera on summon to search for the Centurion Phalanx. Setting the Phalanx, we'll activate Crimson Gaia, and then the effect of Crimson Gaia, grabbing a Red Zone from the deck. Setting the Red Zone, we can pass to our opponent here. In our opponent's draw phase, you do not want to let them get to the main phase because then they have first action in the main phase and they could go something like Ultimate Slayer or, you know, try to mess with you by giving you a Kaiju or something like that. So I specifically wanted the Calamity lock to be able to be done in the draw phase before your opponent gets a chance to play. We want to lock out as many counters as possible and, you know, granted, pretty much any hand trap counters it in the first place. Regardless, we are going to activate Red Zone in our opponent's draw phase to special summon the Red Rising Rising Dragon. On resolution, we're going to activate the field spell, synchroing a level 6 non-tuner, Dark Dragon Synchro, with a level 2 tuner and a level 4 tuner into the King Calamity, and then on summon King Calamity, which can't be responded to, will lock our opponent out of the game, and we have like plenty of follow-up. We have Abyss to negate any kind of interruptions there, like a Cosmic Cyclone. Yeah, it's just funny that despite this going up to 21 points and this going up to 20 points, that this is like a possibility. It's not worth it, but the Centurion version of the deck definitely is kind of worth it, despite the points cost. If this goes down in points value, then we're absolutely cooking. Give me that third sweet field spell in the main deck. The video's getting a bit long, so I think that's all I'm going to show you today. If you have any questions, I guess leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you there. But yeah, Centurion Red Dragon Archfiend in Genesys format, baby. My baby is playable. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.